This is the story of Gren's Ghost by Marie Louise Fitzpatrick. I'm climbing out the window. It's midnight. I step carefully into the flower patch beneath my bedroom window and shine the torch around my feet to avoid damaging my dad's prize-winning gladioli. I lower the window, balancing it carefully on my school ruler so it doesn't close completely. I mustn't get locked out. Ringing the doorbell when I get back is not an option. My mother would never recover from the shock of knowing her one and only son has been wandering the neighborhood in the middle of the night. My parents think I'm good as gold, and usually I am, but tonight I'm climbing out. When Gren Harrington took me aside in school today and asked me to meet him at the Seven Castles car park at 10 minutes past midnight, I should have said no, but I said yes, because that's what everyone says to Gren Harrington. I often watched him from the corner of my classroom and tried to figure out why. I think he may have charisma. I've read the definition, magnetic charm or appeal, and yep, it fits. I guess that's why when he came up to me in the corridor today and said, "So, Flynn, the other boys have you down as a bit of a wet blanket, but I'm thinking there's more to you than meets the eye. Am I right?" I found myself wanting to nod, but I wasn't at all sure that there was more to me than meets the eye, so I tried a non-committal shrug. He said, "I have this thing I want to do, but I need some help pulling it off. I figure you're my man. What do you say?" I thought, what thing? When? Where? What will I have to do? Will it hurt? But I said, "Sure." "Great. You live in Kells, right?" I nodded. "I live a mile outside," he said, as if I wouldn't know that. We travel on the same school bus every day. "The Seven Castles," he said. "You know the visitors' car park?" I nodded again. "I'll see you there," he said. "Tonight, 10 after midnight. Bring a torch." He drew his fingers across his lips in a zipping motion and grinned at me before walking away to join his friends. That grin said he knew I'd be there. He knew I wouldn't bottle out. And even though I've been scared stupid all evening, I've never once considered not going. It's only now, as I arrive at the car park, still breathless from stumbling across the fields by torchlight, that it occurs to me that this could be some sort of ambush. Maybe there'll be a whole gang of boys waiting for me. Maybe I've chosen as the victim in some initiation thing where they take turns beating me to a pulp. I stop dead in the lane outside the car park. "Are you mad or what?" I asked myself. A hand closes on my arm. "Get off the road, will you?" Gren Harrington shines his torch in my face and pulls me after him through the gate into the empty parking lot. "Why are we here?" I ask. I can hardly hear my voice over the roar of blood rushing through my ears. I probably sound as freaked out as I am. "You'll see," he says. He indicates the ruins in the field below us with his head. "Come on." We cross the tarmac and pass through the stile into the field. I can see cow shapes standing around in the darkness. I suppose they are asleep. I should be asleep. I should be at home, in my bed, asleep. The big walls that surround the ruins grow blacker as we near them. The square towers along the walls seem to challenge us. "Come inside if you dare." "They're not castles," I say. "They're watchtowers meant for defense. We call it the Seven Castles because it's actually a walled priory." I'm gabbling, doing my Finbar swat-face Finn thing. That's what the boys in school call me. Finbar swat-face Flynn. Cut the history lecture, swat-face, I tell myself, but I'm afraid if I stop talking my knees will turn to jelly, and I'll collapse on the grass. "You'll probably know all this stuff already," I say. "Not all of it," Gren says. There's no sarcasm in his voice. There's no menace in his smile, but I know he's a good actor. I've seen him lie to a teacher without so much as breaking a sweat. One smile doesn't mean our entire class isn't hiding behind those walls waiting for me. The ground dips steeply. I try to concentrate on minding my step. Any minute we'll pass under the entrance arc. If someone's lying in wait, this is where they'll be. I want to turn and run. Instead, I speed up. Whatever it is I've stupidly walked myself into, I have to get on with it. I rush right in, swinging my torch around. Nothing but stones, broken walls, arches, outlines of what were once churches, buildings, and rooms. I stand in the center of it all, taking deep breaths, giddy with relief. "Gotta hand it to you, man," Gren says, coming up behind me. "I find this place creepy. You marched in here like it's the middle of the day." He taps my backpack. "What have you got there?" he asks. "Just some things I thought might come in handy," I say. He jerks the backpack off my shoulders, tests the weights of it and puts it down. "Let's see what you got," he says. I filled the backpack in my bedroom while I waited for midnight to come. My plan was this: in the event of emergency, I coolly reach into my bag and take out just what we need. If nothing happens, it all stays in the bag. I packed extra batteries from the torch, a blanket, some rope, chocolate, biscuits, a map of the site from the Seven Castles website. I considered a flask of soup, but the logistical problems of organizing it without arousing suspicions of my parents were too complex. Instead, I brought cup of soups, an old saucepan, water, sticks, and matches. Now I notice Gren has a backpack too. Of course he does. He'll have brought everything he needs for whatever this thing is he wants us to do. I feel my face flush pink as I take all the stuff out of my bag. "We won't starve then," Gren says, and he winks. He reaches into his backpack. He pulls out a camera and a load of dark material, which I mistake for a blanket, until he shakes it out. It's a monk's robe, brown with a hood. "Rent it," he says. "Pascal's party shop. Kilkenny. Cost me €30, but it'll be worth it to see their faces." "Whose faces?" I ask. I can't stop myself glancing over my shoulder. 6A, that mob of Muppets you and me are privileged to call our classmates. Tomorrow I plan to go in and tell them a story, one in which I have spent the night alone in Seven Castles, and caught a peek of the famous prairie ghost. "There's a ghost?" I say, glancing around. "I've never heard of a ghost." "Sure you have," Gren says. He slings the robes at me. He waves the camera in my face. "He's appearing tonight, and I'll have proof." "They'll say you photoshopped it," I say. "It's a Polaroid camera, which means instant prints." He points to the slot where the photos come out. "Can't mess with them." Even if they have their doubts, I'll still go down in school history as the boy who spent the night alone in the Seven Castles. "You're not alone," I say. "Oh, but I am," he says. "Tonight you're not Finbar Flynn, you're the Prairie Ghost." "But then," I say, "no one will ever know—" "That you were here?" Gren says. "I'll know." He looks at me questioningly, like he hopes that will be enough. It is. I nod. "I looked around the class to pick me the perfect partner for this adventure, and there you were," he says. "Let's sort the photos first." As I pull on the monk costume, Gren suggests I use my rope to tie it around the middle because the cord that came with it looks pathetic. He checks my maps for the most authentic place for a ghost monk to walk. We find the perfect spot. We set up torches to provide atmospheric shadows. I walk, Gren clicks. Photo after photo slides out of the camera. We line them up and reveal them all at once, peeling off the backing paper, groaning and hooting as we see what we've got. Most of them are useless, but 2 look convincingly spooky. "Score," says Gren and punches the air. "Score," I say. The perfect partner for this adventure is me, I think. We make a small fire with my sticks and heat the water in the pan, but we take it off too early and the soup is lukewarm and lumpy. We eat it anyway, me in the monk robes and Gren wrapped up in the blanket I brought. We talk and munch, words and biscuits, chocolate, in the glow of the firelight. "You know what I think," Gren says, thumping his head like he's had a sudden brainwave. "You need to drop the bar." "Huh?" "The bar. Secondary school will be 3 kinds of hell with a name like Finn Flynn. Now that's a cool name. I consider this. But how?" "Just start using it, like you mean it. Write it in your school books, your copybooks. Next time someone asks your name, you'll say—" He leaves the sentence dangling and stares at me expectantly. "Finn," I say. Again. "Finn Flynn." Again, he says, raising his voice. "Finn Flynn," I say, raising mine. Again he shouts, "Finn Flynn!" I yell. Gren jumps to his feet and I scramble to mine. "Finn Flynn, Finn Flynn, Finn Flynn!" Gren chants and he leads me around the fire, stamping his feet and waving his arms. "Finbar Flynn is dead and gone. Long live Finn Flynn," he roars. The words bounce around the fractured walls. Finn Flynn, Finn Flynn. We laugh at the echoes. We laugh at our dancing shadows. We laugh at everything and nothing until tears roll down our cheeks and our bellies hurt. "Gren's a cool name," I say when we're done. "A lot cooler than what it's short for," he says. I stop and search about my head, adding endings to his name, trying for a likely match. No. Gren couldn't be short for. We need to get gone, Gren says, handing me my blanket. The sun is coming up. He's right. The walls of the priory are turning pinky gray. He kicks dirt over the ashes of our little fire, and I gather up my stuff. Thanks for having the guts to come tonight, Finn, Gren says. You must have wondered what you were getting yourself into. Fair play, man. We don't say much as we pass the cow shapes and go through the car park. In the lane, he thumps my arm in salute, sets off at a run. Then he's gone. Does this make us mates, I wonder, as I cross the fields towards home? But I know it doesn't. When he shows the ghost photos to the other boys, they'll look around to see who his accomplice was, and it give the same game away if he's suddenly talking to me. He never has before. The ruler is where I left it. I tilt it slightly, get my fingers underneath the frame, and lift the sash. I climb back into my bedroom. Everything is just as it was when I left. I'll go to school later and no one will know that Finbar Swat-Face Flynn is not a wet blanket. Nobody but Glenn. And me. I'll know. I know. Finbar Flynn is dead and gone. Long live Finn Flynn.